So hi, my name is Rachel Hendrick, and I'm the editor and publisher of Choice. And I'm here with a couple of librarians and some people from Choice. And we've got Amy Hanfield, who is the associate librarian at Manhattan University in the Bronx, and she also teaches history at Manhattan University. Rosalind Metz, who's the chief technology officer for libraries and museums at Emory University in Atlanta. And then Bill Mickey is our Choice editorial director. And Gary is the founder and editor of InfoDocket and ARL Day in Review. And we're talking about evaluating generative AI resources. So this is something we've been working on at Choice for a couple of months, maybe about a year, and we're really excited to have this discussion. So here is our panel. And I want to talk a little bit about the key takeaways from this presentation, and then I'm hoping we can have a lively discussion about AI assessment. The first is we want to provide you a quick assessment rubric to evaluate open web generative AI applications. So how to approach these applications as an end user. The second is we want to provide you some resources for evaluating subscription-based generative AI applications. So as purchase decision makers, how do you look at these large tools before you start shelling out a lot of money? And finally, we want to present some case studies from a large university and a small university about how AI is being used in the classroom and around on campus. We have a PDF printable of our presentation, so that's available using this QR code, which I realize now I have not tested, so I apologize. Oh, good. Thank you so much. Thank you for testing that. So I want to bring you through the parts of the generative AI application. And I think this is important because I don't know what you know, and maybe you don't know what you know or don't know. So the first is when I think about an AI application, I think of, well, first of all, I want to talk about there are I think of three different AI models. So the first is a digital assistant. So this is not generative AI. AI as a digital assistant is Siri, Alexa, and these conversational AI applications that respond to simple commands and perform a task. The next is predictive AI, which would help marketers service advertisements. Our banks use it to look at our purchases and make sure that something is a fraudulent charge or not. But what we're talking about today is generative AI and its impact on our profession. So generative AI is a more powerful application for artificial intelligence. It's one where machines can begin to almost create knowledge, and maybe it's kind of scary because it's doing the work of humans, or at least it seems to. When we use generative AI, we use an algorithm to create an answer through predictive text. So I like to think of it as a predictive text machine, and that brings some of the emotion down for me. So there are two parts of a large language model. There's two parts of a generative AI application. There's the large language model, the LLM, and this is the underlying engine. It's a statistical model, and it predicts what word should come next based on a prompt. The retrieval augmented generation layer, the RAG, is what I evaluate when I evaluate an AI application. So this is a layer that sits on top of the engine. It provides guardrails on search results. It allows you to choose your data set. It reduces hallucinations. So I'm not a computer scientist. I'm a librarian. I'm a publisher. I don't understand the LLM. Even if you gave me all the code, I wouldn't be able to tell you what to do with it. But I understand RAG because I understand data sets, and I understand the scholarly workflows that I'm trying to carry out. So when I think about how to evaluate an open web generative AI resource, I think about three things. I think about the transparency of my results. I think about the efficiency. Is this actually helping me in my workflows, or is it causing me more work? And I think about privacy. I'm always checking the privacy policy on these tools to make sure that I'm not feeding it information and violating copyright or giving it personal information, either my own or someone I work with. I'm also thinking a little bit about my organization and what I'm telling, the story I'm telling about my organization in this AI search. A couple of other things I look at is, am I using a research assistant or a chatbot? What is the context window? And that's the amount of text that the LLM is using to predict text. So sometimes the context window will be an entire article, but more often than not, it's actually an abstract. And then I'm thinking about what kind of company I'm working with. Am I working with a company I know, or am I working with a new startup? And what are their values? Who's on their beta testing? So I want to bring it over to Gary, who...
Hi there.
Hello, who is working with us here at Choice, and he has every Friday morning he takes me through a couple of resources, and so I wanted him to show you some of his sort of top open web resources or low cost resources. And again, we're talking about you as the end user. So please go ahead.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good morning. This one, I'm sure is, how many of you have used or know people who have used Notebook LM? I think in my work and talking to a lot of people and also my own use, this is, of all the tools that have come around, aside from the initial launch of ChatGPT, a couple of years ago, this one has probably gotten the most buzz, and I think for good reason. It's a Google product. It's using the Google Gemini AI. It allows you to upload, as you can see here with Rachel, what Rachel's done is you can upload one or more papers and chat with them. I believe in terms of free tools, this one allows you to upload the most into one folder, up to 50 megabytes, and chat with the entire folder. So you can create ad hoc collections and chat with up to 50 megabytes. And when you when you do find a citation, you do get a response, it will often, if not always, give you a link to find where it is finding what it says it's finding in the document. So you can kind of get an idea of where it's coming from. Hopefully getting a great idea of where it's coming from. So that's what Notebook LM is, free. And of course, Notebook LM, aside from that, has gotten a huge amount of attention because this is the tool that allows you to take documents and turn them into podcasts. How many of you have actually done that? Not as many as I would thought, but yes, this is it. And again, it's free. Well, folks, in the academic and library market world, this is the next thing. This is, you can see, you might not be able to see it in the back, but as Google likes to do, it's an experiment. This is a new product called Google Illuminate that takes that podcast idea, create podcasts from documents, but it's doing it for academic journal articles. So right now, for example, it's an experiment. You can upload a journal article. The model is trained for that. Or built in, you can actually search using, I believe they have the archive database search in here, archive database in here. You can search for articles. I think you can create a podcast of up to 5 articles, and it will discuss them. The issue is, unless you go back to the actual article or know what they're saying from the article, you have no way to validate what they're actually creating the podcast from. So that brings up all sorts of other issues going forward, as it does with all the things that we're talking about. Perplexity. This one is one I've been using for about 1.5 years. It's got, of all the, Rachel used the expression RAG, retrieval augmented generation. This is one of the, if not the first, for sure the first one to get a lot of attention in the RAG space. It's a search bot, if you like. Of course, you can also upload and chat with your own documents. And Rachel made a really great point about privacy. You need to be very sure about what's happening to any documents you upload to any of these services. But this one, when I talked about this at CNI last year, now again, how it works today might be different the way it works tomorrow. And in fact, consistency of results is another major issue that I'm looking at. And it's often not very good, but how much, and consistency then leads to trust over time. And in my opinion, the phrase I often use with Rachel on Friday mornings is, a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, is cool, and we absolutely positively need to be using it and looking at it, but a lot of this stuff is not ready for prime time. But Perplexity gives you, they have their own database. I think there's some involvement with the Google database, but they're crawling the web. And they will give you a response, and every part of the response will give you a citation to an underlying document. One quick tip: if you're using Perplexity, you might want to try using the command /. So, for example, /gov will limit the underlying documents to be coming from the .gov domain, from the government domain. You could even do, and you can take it even down to specific directories. So you might want to try that. Semantic Reader is a feature of Semantic Scholar. Semantic Scholar is a wonderful open web database of academic journal articles and related materials. And this is using AI to actually highlight and give you and help you read an actual document. So this is a preprint. Hey, Keith, from Carnegie Mellon University. And as you can see, well, you might not be able to see, but you can see, I believe it says method and result. So it's actually using the AI to read the report or the document and give you help actually reviewing it. So this is another use of AI.
I love this one. This is my favorite.
Right. It's called Semantic Reader from the Semantic Scholar database. It's not available for every article. And in the last week, if you have a Google add-on for your browser, they're doing something similar, but not as robust, at least at this point. This is the last one I'm going to mention. This is not a chatbot, but again, this is using AI, machine learning. This comes out of the UK. They were a guest at the Charleston in Between that I helped organize a couple of years ago. And this is, again, you upload articles. I think you can actually search for them here, and it will give you a very nice breakdown of the articles if you scroll down, Rachel, real quick. Sure. So again, this is not a chatbot, but it's another use of AI in the academic scholarly market. And this is called Scholarcy. And they allow you to use it for, I think you get up to 3 or 4 articles a day, and then a subscription. Semantic Reader is free. Perplexity, you can use it for free, more if you pay for it. And what else do we mention? Notebook LM.
Notebook LM is
free.
Also free. Yeah, and Illuminate as well.
And Illuminate from Google is also free. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary. Yeah, those are some really cool tools, and we will. And we'll post those to LibTech Insights, our technology blog. So I just want to finish up this section by reiterating again that when you are looking at an open web generative AI resource, to really think about the provenance of your results. So making sure you can go back and check to make sure that the LLM is not hallucinating, that it's not giving you something made up or something that's not exactly right. You need to think about whether or not this is saving you time in your scholarly workflows. Is it efficient, or is it just making more work? And is your session private? What are you putting into this thing, and how is it being used? Is it being used for training? Is it being used, made available to other users? Just thinking about that. And then I'd like to add also, just thinking about critical thinking and thinking about what it means to be a scholar, and what it means to generate knowledge. And is this tool actually doing the critical thinking, or is it allowing you to do that work? Because you don't want to have a machine do your critical thinking. You don't want it to make your art. Like, that's the nice thing about being human, I think. So I'm going to pass it over to Bill, who's going to talk about the work we've been doing at Choice in terms of helping you guys think broadly about subscription-based AI tools and how to make those buying decisions.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So a little bit about Choice, if you're not already familiar. We're a publishing unit of the Association of College and Research Libraries. And we are first and foremost a source for reviews of print and digital scholarly resources for higher ed. You can find us at choice360.org. We also offer webinars, podcasts, and publish research reports, all of which are designed to support and advance the profession. Up on the slide there, that QR code will take you directly to an about page for, if you want to review for us, feel free to check it out. We have just begun reviewing AI tools for higher education, and these will be rolling out in the next coming weeks and months. And it's an obvious direction for us to go in, given the high level of attention AI is obviously receiving, and the often significant enhancements it's offering to scholarly communication in general. And we also see AI and the emergence of AI as another bridge for academic libraries to play a crucial and central role in the campus's student success initiatives, and also faculty success as well. Our reviews of AI products and digital resources in general comes with our usual short format examinations, about 300 to 400 words, that really just provide an informed jumping off point for your own due diligence. And in many respects, our evaluation rubric that we use, that we pass on to reviewers to review AI tools, is modeled to resemble what we think any librarian should be considering when they're, determining whether to subscribe to these tools. And so what do? We ask for, a brief product description. What is the product? Who is its intended audience? What are its main functions? And then crucially, what, LLM does it use, and or what is its underlying data set? We need contextualization as well. What is its intended use scenario? How does it fit into the library and or integrate with digital holdings, existing digital holdings, if at all? And then comes the evaluation. How well does the tool do what it's supposed to do? How well is the AI layer presented in the user interface? And this is, really important because, it all ties into sort of the trust that a user will have in the outputs. Is that layer, is the interface self-explanatory? Is there sufficient help available? Is it easy or difficult for a researcher or user to get started? And then again, how well are the results presented, explained, or enhanced? Sort of digesting the results of a search in the context of these tools. Is it providing a certain level of trustworthiness, reliability, and confidence in the results? For example, if you repeat a prompt, does it reproduce the same results or different? And then finally, obviously, how is the product priced? What is the payment model for institutions? Is the pricing commensurate with those added functions? So those are the things that, we counsel our reviewers to really pay attention to as they look at these products. And again, it's something we think is going on or should be going on as librarians evaluate these tools for their own institutions.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Yep.
I want to throw it over to Roslyn to talk a little bit about the work they're doing at Emory and impact on collections, please.
So I come at this conversation from the technology side. So I think that's something important to remember, not the collection side. So one of the things that we've noticed is a significant uptick in faculty wanting access to data sets to be able to use in AI, but also to be able to use for AI to train models or what have you. One of the things that we've been having discussions about is, yes, you can go to a publisher and you can get a contract tomorrow and they'll say, this is what a particular individual wants for, or what we want to limit the use of a data set. But that then means that you have to think critically about the tool. The tool is in essence the only way to access the data, right? You can't, you could open it on a text file if you feel like it, but you can't just hand over a data set to any AI tool. So at Emory, our central IT unit has negotiated with Microsoft. So we have Microsoft Copilot with data protections turned on so that when we are uploading things to what is essentially ChatGPT, when you are uploading things to Microsoft Copilot, you know that Microsoft and its underlying data is not using those data sets to train its LLMs or to enhance its LLMs. That data is remaining within the Emory universe. So that is one protection that Microsoft has put in place. If individuals are interested in using to create their own LLMs or to use data sets in that way, we have a negotiation again with Amazon, Amazon Web Services. And so Amazon has a number of tools. And again, the data that we put in there is locked down to Emory so that nobody is able to go out and, Amazon's not using it to train their data or their LLMs or any of the different tools that they provide. So that's something critical to think about, is that you're no longer just thinking about, oh, here, let me give you the material that you want. It's also, and you can only use it with these particular tools. Otherwise, you're breaking licensing agreements. In open scholarship, as I've been talking to colleagues around libraries, what I've noticed is that faculty more and more are concerned about who is using their scholarship to train their LLMs. And so one of my colleagues at the University of Buffalo in New York said that she's noticed that faculty are coming to them to ask about agreements. Is there anything in the agreements that says, publishers can't basically resell my content to train LLMs? And unfortunately, the answer is, for much older agreements, no. So now they're working through, how do we create agreements for open scholarships so that faculty are aware that their data sets and the publications that come out of their research is not being used to train LLMs. The last thing is metadata enhancing AIs. You probably could go talk to your version of me and discover that, in fact, all of our catalogs and repositories are currently under attack. Every single day, my staff have to deal with Microsoft Bing's AI chat or bot crawling our catalog, crawling our repository, and bringing it to its knees. It's essentially what's called a denial of service attack, or a distributed denial of service attack. And they are crawling it because metadata is the best way to enhance your LLM. Handcrafted metadata over hundreds and hundreds of years by hundreds of thousands of people is living in our catalogs, in our repositories, and they want that metadata. And there's nothing stopping them from getting it except your IT unit. So we've actually implemented tools to stop Microsoft, to stop Google, to stop University of Texas at Austin. I don't know what you're doing over there, but you've brought our catalog down a couple times, to stop them from instigating a denial of service attack on our catalog and on our repository. What's also very fun about this is that all of our infrastructure is in Amazon Web Services, and Amazon has a firewall that we've implemented, and it has AI learning features. So we are, in fact, fighting the AI with the AI. So those are some things to be thinking about, is that, the work that we have been doing forever is now the thing that they want the most. And how do we go about protecting that metadata and protecting our systems? Can we use this to our advantage? Can we figure out a way to say, sure, I'll give you access to my 5 million records probably more now, 5 million records in the catalog, and how much money you're going to give me for it. So I think we as community need to start thinking about some of those things.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. That's a great perspective. I'm going to pass it over to Amy, who's going to talk a little bit about generative AI and instruction. And please go ahead.
My turn. Hi, everyone. So before I give my little talky talk song and dance, I just wanted to say that I've been writing choice reviews for about a decade. So that's my connection to these lovely people here. Anyway, I'm here just to kind of give you my perspective of AI in instruction, and not only instruction, but at a small institution. So I was introduced as someone from Manhattan University. Well, we've been Manhattan University for like 3 months, okay? It's been Manhattan College for 150 years. We're tiny, okay? We don't have a lot of resources. And a couple of years ago, when AI kind of came out, the Chronicle of Higher Education wrote about it, and I'm not going to swear or anything, but everyone out, okay? At least at the college, they didn't know what it was. They didn't know how to handle it, and I'm talking faculty, admin, and partially the students, okay? And myself too. I watched my little universe kind of freak out, right? And from then until now, I've seen some other things happen, okay? We don't really have any large platform that we use, or, guidelines or whatnot. We talk a lot, we're small, okay? So we have conversations and town halls and stuff like that. But I've seen a couple things happen. There's some faculty and students who have embraced it, right? Who have used it for good and not for evil, that type of thing. And with those, I'm good, right? You have the people who are ambivalent. We'll put those aside for a second. Okay, now the ones I'm concerned about, as far as instruction, are the ones that are scared. Okay, so we're talking about AI at a certain level right now. And I guess if there's one thing I can impart to you is don't forget your user, right? Right? Especially the ones that don't understand what AI is. And we're talking about it on a little bit different level. But remember your user, because the people at my institution that I try to have as many conversations as possible, both students and faculty, are the ones that don't know what it is, right? Or don't know what it can do, okay? So I'm not going to sit and yammer away very much, because that's pretty much all I have to say. But as far as back to the user thing, okay, don't forget your user. How do you fix it? I don't have a rubric for that, right? At a small institution, you get creative, right? You get creative with what you have, which is usually very little. Okay, so my one suggestion for you, as far as users that are ambivalent, try to engage them. Good luck with that. But try to engage them. No, seriously, get creative. And with the scared ones, teach them. Right? That's my song and dance.
Thank you so much, Amy. You can download the printable and you can give it to them, I suppose, and they can figure out what an LLM and a RAG is. Thank you so much. So we have about 10 minutes for questions, and I'm going to kick it over to Bill Mickey, our editorial director, to lead a discussion with our panelists. And we were hoping to start with questions from you guys, but
yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to share, how they are evaluating AI tools within their library or campus.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Robert Shapiro. I'm from the Southeast AHEC Library in North Carolina. I also serve as the director for Novant Health Library Services. I would love some discussion about the environmental cost of AI. And I know there's some recent publications, research showing that a human costs more carbon than an AI system, but we know that there's a tremendous amount of environmental impact to train and use AI. And then second, I'm wondering if you could comment potentially on the funding or who supports AI and the sort of social impact. And I'm thinking about RAYAN, the systematic review software, and its connection to Qatar and human rights violations, and extending that into some of these tools that we are accepting as just a given, rather than something that we can critique, and we asking ourselves whether we ought to be using them.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great question. I was not aware of regarding the environmental impact. I was not aware of the research that indicates that a human being actually has a larger carbon footprint than an AI machine. But I'll have to go find that. I think that's quite funny, actually. But I've been thinking a lot about the environmental impact of this, and there are just a couple of points that I think are sort of really important to bring up. And that's first that we already have a technology ecological disaster, and it's called Bitcoin. So that's the first thing. And so this is like on top of Bitcoin. And it's the amount of computing power that it takes to train these machines and then to continue to run them is astronomical. And I do know that Microsoft is spinning up 3 Mile Island again. I don't know if you had heard that. So that's in Pennsylvania. And I was reading some New York Times articles about that yesterday. The idea there is that Microsoft has committed to buy all of the electricity from that nuclear power plant. The nice thing about nuclear is that it is a renewable energy, so that's nice. But just the fact that Microsoft just bought its own power plant is crazy. There's also a water impact with AI, and there was some research done by some students at Purdue recently who talked about the amount of water it takes to produce AI results and to train AI. And that's specifically in cooling the data centers, because I thought, well, how do you use water in computing? Well, because this computing power is producing all of this heat. And so you need to cool down these data centers. So it's just a lot of cooling towers for these data centers. Regarding the human rights impact, I'm not familiar with that, and I really appreciate you raising that, because I'm going to look into that. I don't know if anyone else oh, thank you.
So Sybil Schaefer, who's at the University of California, San Diego, she just wrote a really interesting paper on the impact of just computing writ large on the environment and on the human rights abuses, and tied it back to concepts of I think there's something called it's a philosophical term, and I'm not going to repeat it because I can't remember exactly what it is, and then you'll go look for it. But she did a presentation at IPRES, which was just in Ghent in Belgium. And the presentation was really impactful, I would say. It sort of brought the weight of computing. And I would say even just thinking about what we store and the curatorial value of what we store is something that we should be doing in our libraries. Why are we choosing to acquire these things? And Sybil comes at it from a digital preservation perspective. Where, we have, at my institution, we have hundreds of terabytes. Is all of that necessary? Do we need all of that? Is that something we would continue to have into the future? I think those are some of the things that we need to be asking ourselves and being willing to educate ourselves on. So I would definitely look into hers. She talks about how our value as humans in the US and our carbon footprint is so much larger than, say, on other continents, in other countries. So some of it can really depend on who you are. So,
yeah, I'll just add to that Gartner just came out with a report on energy consumption through AI workloads. So that might be another resource to look up.